So the video this time is not going to be so much about math as it's going to be about learning. What I want to talk to you about is different types of learning characteristics. I know that in your English class you've probably talked to your English teachers about being strategic readers. And what I want to talk to you about in this video is not only being a strategic reader, but being a strategic learner. So I want to talk about some of the characteristics that we as teachers see in strategic learners. So here are some of those. Able to analyze a problem and develop a plan. Okay, so that means you're able to read a problem, come up with a plan in order to try to solve it, rather than looking at a problem and not being able to plan anything or do anything with it and just basically giving up. Another one, able to organize multiple goals and switch flexibly from simple to more complicated goals. So that means kind of starting to think about your future and not just what's going on right now. Thinking about your goal of passing the test, thinking about your goal of learning new material, thinking about your goal of graduating high school, graduating college, thinking more long term. Access to background knowledge and apply it to novel tasks. That means keeping that knowledge in your head rather than cramming it in and letting it go right back out. Accessing that background knowledge that you have, taking what you know and applying it. Develop new organizational or procedural strategies as the task becomes more complex. That can have to do with math problems, that can have to do with reading, that can have to do with writing an essay. When you run across something that's getting more complicated, you have to come up with a plan of how to tackle it. How are you going to organize differently? How are you going to come up with another procedure to do it? Use effective self-regulated strategies while completing a task. Now this is one that a lot of people struggle with. Notice self-regulated. That means that you are regulating yourself. You're saying, okay, I know this is due on this day. How can I make sure that I have it done on that day? What can I do? Do I need to do some of it now? Yes. I don't need to wait until the last minute. You have to regulate yourself and give yourself deadlines and not wait until the last minute. Okay? Attribute high grades to their hard work and good study habits. You don't just magically get good grades. You have to work hard at them. People who are strategic learners know that their grades come from their hard work and their study habits. It's not something that's going to happen magically. Review the task-oriented goals and determine whether they have been met. Okay? Did you get to where you wanted to go? When you take the test this Friday, will you get the grade that you wanted? What goal have you set to get on that test? What goal have you set to have your GPA at when you graduate from high school? What goals are you even thinking about setting for the job that you want to have when you graduate? So these are all habits of strategic learners. Now let's look at the habits of non-strategic learners. So non-strategic learners are unorganized, impulsive, and unaware of where to begin an assignment. Okay, so they don't have as much organization and they get overwhelmed. A non-strategic learner doesn't know where to start. Okay, unaware of possible steps to break the problem into a manageable task, possibly due to the magnitude of the task. Exactly what I was just saying. Getting overwhelmed and not knowing where to start. Even when you start, not knowing how to get to those possible steps. That's something that you can work on if you consider yourself to be a non-strategic learner. Exhibits problems with memory. Can't remember things after working them. Can't remember how to factor a problem. Can't remember how to solve a right triangle using sine, cosine, or tangent. Unable to focus on a task. This has to do back up here with the first one, unaware of where to begin. If you don't know where to begin, you have a hard time being able to focus because you're actually probably procrastinating. Don't worry, I'm part of that. You see when this video is being posted. I have a little bit of those non-strategic learner things myself. Lack persistence, okay? They don't persist in following their goals. They don't find a problem and persist in solving it. Most of the time, a non-strategic learner will find a problem that they can't do, and they'll give up. Experience feelings of frustration, failure, or anxiety. Now, guys, I know some of y'all have felt the frustration in math class, and it's easy to get frustrated with math, but you have to get past that. Okay? That's one thing that can help you to be a more strategic learner. Getting past those feelings of frustration, failure, and anxiety. And the last one, attribute failure to uncontrollable factors such as luck, teacher's instruction style. You can learn from any teacher, and luck has nothing to do with your grade unless you really just go through and mark C on every answer. Your successes and failures come from yourself and how hard you're willing to work and what problems you are willing to overcome. So here are some questions I want you to think about. Which type of the learner are you? Are you a strategic learner or are you a non-strategic learner? I want you to be honest with yourself. Look back at those characteristics and see what you think you are. Do you exhibit characteristics of both or just one? Now, we can all improve our ability to learn, even me. What can you do to become a more strategic learner in math? Which of those goals or which of those characteristics could you work on to be a more strategic learner? Which of the non-strategic ones could you possibly try to work on to get better at? And finally, what can you do differently to study for the Unit 4 test? Now, I'm not going to ask you any of these questions in the questions box of the or the questions part of this assignment because this is for you to think about. But I want you to really think about what you can do differently to be a more strategic learner in all of your classes, but especially in my math class. Now, there are questions, so go answer them, and I will see y'all in class.